It's starting. Give me a second. It's starting. Give me a second. All right, I think we're good.
Good. I'll again call the meeting to order for the LAFCO for January 20th, 2021. This meeting will proceed as a teleconference in compliance with the waivers to certain Brown Act provisions under the governor's executive orders in response to the COVID-19 state of emergency. The agenda provides members of the public the ability to provide comment when participating via Zoom video conference or Zoom via phone by either clicking the raise hand button from the Zoom browser or Zoom app, or for those on Zoom via phone, they can also raise their hands by pressing *9. Comments and testimony are limited to 3 minutes. Additionally, the agenda also informs members of the public that they may submit written comments by mail, email, or online through the Commission's website public comment link no later than 7:30 a.m. today. These comments and testimony will be read to the meeting record at the appropriate time. So with that, I'll ask Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Bagley,
I'm here.
Commissioner Cox,
Present.
Commissioner Curatolo, Commissioner Dameyer,
Here.
Commissioner Dennison,
Dennison here.
Commissioner Farrell,
Yes, present.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Rao,
Good morning, I'm here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum. As you know, or may not know, the County Board of Supervisors has reorganized the members of this commission, and Supervisor Baca and Supervisor Hagman will now be the primary members, and Supervisor Rao will be the alternate member. Supervisor Hagman is not with us today, but we will be swearing in Supervisor Baca as soon as we do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would all join me in saluting the flag of our great republic. Ready? Begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So with that, we'd like to welcome Supervisor Baca, and I would ask the clerk to swear him in, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisor Baca. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joe Baca Jr.,
Solemnly swear that I will support and defend
solemnly swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I enter.
the duties upon which I am now about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Supervisor. Would you care to make any comments at this time?
No, it's great to be on LAFCO. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve with you. I just want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you so much.
That's right. It is St. Patty's Day. Very good. Okay, well, another announcement. Anyone present at the hearing who is involved with any of the changes of organization to be considered and who has made a contribution of more than $250 in the past 12 months to any member of the commission will be asked to state for the record the commission members to whom the contribution has been made and the matter of consideration with which they are involved. Is there anyone who wishes to make that declaration at this time? Hearing and seeing none, before we hear any public comments on the closed session items, would legal counsel state the items listed for the closed session, please?
Certainly. Following public comments on closed session items, the commission will be going into closed session for 2 items of existing litigation. The first being Comet versus City of Redlands et al. With the San Bernardino Superior Court case number CVIDS 1906437, and also Montecito Equities Limited versus San Bernardino Local Agency Formation Commission, County of San Bernardino Superior Court case number CIVSB 2029401.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Were there any written comments submitted on the closed session items?
None received?
Thank you. Are there any public wishing to speak on this item? If so, click the raise hand button, and for those on the phone, press *9. Seeing none, the commission will be convening into closed session. Do all of you have we're going to be doing a teleconference. Do all of you have the number?
Mr. Chair, I do not. Can I get staff to send it to me?
Okay. With that, we'll go into session.
Excuse me, Chairman, I need that number also.
I will send that to both of you.
Okay.
Very good. So we'll convene into closed session now. Are you going to mute all of us? Or? Okay. I think everyone's back. With that, I'll reconvene our public session and ask our legal counsel, is there a report out of closed session?
Yes, the commission met in closed session, came out of closed session at 9:48. There is no reportable action that was taken in closed session.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to our consent items, 5 through 9, which are expected to be routine and non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a request has been made to pull an item to discuss the matter. Are there any consent items that anyone wishes to pull for discussion? Hearing none, is there, Madam Clerk, are there any written comments submitted for these items?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on these items? Click the raise hand button, or for those on phone, press *9. Seeing none, is there a motion on the consent items?
So moved by Supervisor Baca.
And Steve Farrell will second that with special appreciation for moving on the Salk agreement, Sam. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Baca,
Baca, aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll now move on to item 11, which is consideration of CEQA exemption as responsible agent for the LAFCO service contract number 460 and a review of LAFCO service contract 460. I'll now open the public hearing and ask staff to make a presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The City of San Bernardino, on behalf of the property owner and developer, has submitted an application for commission review requesting authorization to extend sewer service outside its corporate boundaries as required by Government Code 56133. Next slide, Mike. The area is just south of the Cajon Boulevard. The extension will be through the existing 15-inch sewer main on Cajon. Staff has reviewed this request for the provision of sewer service by the City of San Bernardino outside its boundaries against the criteria established by commission policy and state law. The parcels to be served are within the sphere of influence assigned to the City of San Bernardino and are anticipated to become part of the city sometime in the future. The 3 parcels to be developed require that they connect to the City of San Bernardino's sewer facilities, and staff supports the city's request since its sewer infrastructure is adjacent to the parcels. Staff recommends that the commission approve LAFCO service contract 460 by taking the actions on page 1 of the staff report, 1 and 2, which is also on the display. For environmental review as responsible agency, certify that the commission, its staff, and its environmental consultant have reviewed and considered the notice of exemption filed for tentative parcel map 20176, determine that the commission has considered the environmental effects caused by approval of the service extension requests, and finds the information adequate for the commission's use for its authorization of the out-of-agency service agreement, determine that the commission does not intend to adopt alternatives or mitigation measures for this project, and that no mitigation measures were required for this project. And however, conditions of approval were adopted, which is the responsibility of the county to implement. Direct the executive officer to file the notice of exemption as CEQA responsible agency. Approve LAFCO service contract 460, authorizing the City of San Bernardino to extend sewer service outside its boundaries to tentative parcel map 20176. which is APN 0262-04222. Next slide, Mike. And adopt LAFCO Resolution 3327, setting forth the Commission's determinations and approval of the agreement for service outside the city of San Bernardino's boundaries. That ends my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Do any commissioners have questions of staff?
As Supervisor Baca, I just have one question. I know that, I mean, that's great that they're getting sewer and I'm supportive of that. What do they plan? What's the plans to develop in that county area right now? Has there been an approved project yet or potential project?
Not for that parcel. It's being subdivided into 3 lots that are approved for a industrial use. That whatever the approved project would have to come back to the county for approval.
Okay, no, I think that's great. They're getting sewer. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions of staff? Does the city of San Bernardino, as the applicant, wish to speak on the item? Seeing no hands raised, Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this item? Click the raise hand button, or for those on the phone, press *9. Seeing none, I'll close now the public hearing for item 11, bring back the commission for deliberation and action. Is there a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I'd like to move to approve staff's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Warren
Supervisor Baca will second.
and Supervisor Baca second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Baca, aye.
Commissioner Bagley, Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. We now have before us item 12, which is a 2-part budget review item. Item 12A is the consideration of the proposed fee schedule, and item 12B is consideration of the proposed budget for FY 21-22. I'll now open the public hearing, and staff, would you make your presentation?
Thank you again. Item 12 for the budget relates to the fee schedule. In line with the Commission's direction a few years ago, Mike, next slide. You requested that the increases be tied to the region's CPI every year, rather than having the sudden huge increases every few years. Therefore, staff is recommending the fees for the jurisdictional changes that are on page 2, and as well as the service contracts, which is on page 6, be increased based on the region's CPI for 2020, which is at 1.9%, and the deposits will remain the same. Staff recommends that the Commission review and the proposed amendments and provide staff with direction on changes, corrections, or modifications. Direct staff to forward the proposed fee schedule for fiscal year 2021-22 to the county, all cities and towns, and all independent special districts for their review and comment, and schedule the final review and adoption of the fee schedule for May 19, 2021 hearing. That ends my presentation. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Do the commissioners have any questions of staff? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this item? Click the raise hand button or press *9 on the phone. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on item 12A and bring it back to the Commission for discussion and action.
Mr. Chairman, I move the staff's recommendation. I'm glad to see this cost of living index is standard for increasing fees. I think municipalities need to have a responsible standard when we look at what they do, and we should set the example.
Agreed. Motion by Bagley, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
A second by Dr. Cox. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Baca, aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Item passes unanimous. We now move on to item 12B. I'll open the public hearing for the item and have staff please make your presentation.
All right, so item 12B, which is our proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-22. New for this year is the work plan. This is really a work plan and a list of budgetary items that are categorized by priority based on those that are on a continuing basis and based on priority high, medium, and low. There are a couple things that we are highlighting in the work plan, which have a bold outline. First bold outline relates to the apportionment. We made it a priority to reduce the apportionment. Last year, we increased the apportionment by $30,000, which resulted in additional $10,000 for each category. This year, we are reducing it back to the prior year number, which means a reduction by $30,000, which equates to a reduction by $10,000 for each category. 10,000 less for the county, 10,000 less for the cities and towns, and 10,000 less for the independent special districts. And this is going to positively affect the districts most, the smaller districts in particular, due to the special districts alternative formula. The other two highlights are at the bottom of the work plan. Outlined in bold are the benefit increases and the proposed cost of living allowance, which I will be discussing in the next slide. Last year, staff recommended and the commission agreed to defer the COLA and benefit increases adopted by the county that took effect July 2020. This year, I am proposing to include a 2% COLA based on the 1.9 inflation rate for the region. And I am also recommending that the benefits that were also deferred, the medical premium subsidy increase, the medical reimbursement plan increase, and the increased contribution to the retirement medical trust be adopted for fiscal year 21-22, and the rest of the years that have been identified. The next slide shows the retirement rates for 2021 for Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees. It should be noted that although this year's rate are increasing, our rates last year actually went down. And ours was the only one that went down due to the lump sum contribution we made in 2019. The next few slides are on projects and programs. This slide provides you an overview of our second round service review program. We have finished the cemetery district service review, and our park and recreation service review is underway, which will be followed by solid waste sometime during the fiscal year. South Planning Grant. The proposed budget does not include this program. We are reviewing this with county accounting and our independent auditor. Due to this being a grant, and we don't have any experience with grants, we want to make sure we got this down right. So staff will be returning at a subsequent hearing for the appropriate budget adjustments. The next one is the LAFCO communication tools. Some of you were in attendance late last year, at one of the webinars that LAFCO had. It unveiled a set of communication tools for LAFCOs to use regarding LAFCO's visibility and viability during these times. The intent is for LAFCOs to step up and get into the resource role as communities deal with the fallout of the pandemic and looking at LAFCOs to help. Attachment 5 to the staff report is what CalLAFCO prepared for LAFCOs, each one with their own logo and their own contact information, which we can send out to all cities in our districts as well as others. The other one, the attachment number 6, is what staff or commissioners would be using when meeting with local legislators and their staff. Unfortunately, we cannot make any changes to the content because CalLAFCO would like to have a consistent message. Nonetheless, it is there for us to use. I did see an error on the website address for the one that was prepared for us, which CalLAFCO said they can fix. On the website, we need to migrate to a new website platform. The county has moved to a new content management system. This was actually something that we brought up at last year's budget, that the current platform our website is on, which is the DDN system, is no longer being supported. However, we did defer this migration to this year. The county was working on several of their departments at the time, and we were not on their high priority list. Many of the county's websites, the departments have already been transitioned into the new system. Only a handful are still in the old system, so we are budgeting it for this coming year. Our DUCS program needs to be updated this year since our policy requires us to map this out every 5 years in time for the census data to be available, which in this case, the 2020 census data has now been pushed towards the end of the year. Once staff completes this project, we will bring this to the commission for your consideration and approval. The fiscal indicators program is currently in hiatus. Portions of the program are incompatible with the current website and will be also moving forward. This needs a revamp of its current structure, which was a special program that was developed in conjunction with county IT. We will address this after the website conversion is done. Either we redesign it or terminate the program. Again, cost is incurred mainly for staff time. Governance training, we are also on hiatus on this last year due to the pandemic, and we intend to have this one back this coming fiscal year. This member trainings can be in person or virtual, and we are hopeful we can do this, do 2 of this year. Trust transfer is something new this year. In the past, we were putting this into reserve because SB Sarah did not have a procedure back then to take our payment. Previously, we had that allocation put in a reserve to pay off the net pension liability. Then a couple of years ago, we transferred over the $180,000 that we had in the reserve to start our payoff of the net pension liability. And now we're putting money into the reserve and taking that exact same amount, transferring it over to the trust account as an allocation. Then we have to come back to the commission to put it into the fund. It's not an expenditure, it's not a reserve, or it's not a revenue. It's a trust transfer because it's transferring between 2 public trust agencies that are both part of the county treasury. So currently it's a multi-step process where we put it in the reserve, transferring it out, and then asking permission to fund that account. We can cut that process in half by just allocating it right off the bat as part of the budget. This creates a whole new category of budgeting accounts called trust transfer. In this case, we transfer the trust transfer, or we fund the trust transfer, and we don't have to come back to the commission to transfer this over. This budget, we budgeted 50,163 based on the amortization schedule. When we started funding this in 2013, our yearly amortization started out about $26,000. 8 years later, we are now almost double at 50,000. And staff is recommending that this matter be discussed in detail at a future hearing to determine a path moving forward in continuing our additional payments to our net pension liability. For our reserves for fiscal year 21-22, we just talked about the net pension liability and the trust transfer instead of a reserve. Nonetheless, the payment schedule for June 2021 is $43,852. Please note on the staff report, there's an error that this payment schedule is for June 2020. It should be this coming June 2021. Compensated absences are being funded. Last year, I requested we add the salary reserve for the extra pay period that happens every 10 years. So this year is the first year we are budgeting this, and we are funding 1/10 of the pay period at $3,000. We are adding 6,400 into contingencies for a round number of $25,000. And we are adding $25,000 into our general reserve to get to $175,000. So combining the $25,000 and the $175,000 would be in line with our reserve policy that we are supposed to have $200,000 in our reserve. This next slide is on the apportionment, which I already discussed earlier regarding reducing it by $30,000, $10,000 for each category. Again, the districts will benefit the most, especially the smaller districts. I would like to point out another error on the staff report, page 14. This is the correct apportionment for each category, which is $363,499. And times 3, that's a total of $1 million, $90,497. The general ledger, which is your attachment 1, and the revenue detail attachment 4, both have a total rounded off to the nearest thousand at $1,090,000. We're going to make that correction to reflect the actual number, which is $1,090,497. And the county auditor will be required to apportion this amount on July 1, 2021. Staff is recommending, including the corrections identified earlier, to adopt the proposed budget and work plan for fiscal year 21-22 as presented. Direct staff to forward the proposed budget, as may have been modified at this hearing, to all the independent special districts, cities and towns, and the county for comments, and schedule a public hearing for May 19, 2021 for approval of either a 1 or 2 year contract amendment with IVDA for use of the Northern Regional Center for the commission's meetings, approval of the amendments to the policy and procedure manual for salaries and benefits, and adoption of the final budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. That ends my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Sam. Before I ask for commissioner comments or questions, I wanted to thank you and your staff for putting together this budget, doing a great job, and for your ongoing fiscal management of our commission. You're doing a wonderful job, and I want to just express my appreciation for it. Are there any comments or questions of staff? Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman, Jim
Supervisor
Bagley.
Rao. Supervisor Rao first.
Thank you. I want to echo Larry's comments. Sam, it was a great job. The budget committee, we really appreciate all the sacrifices that you and the staff have made both last year and then the concessions going into this year and the conservative approach. So I just wanted to let the committee know that the budget committee really appreciates that and blesses this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bagley.
Sam, I also echo the same thing. I think it's a very conservative, wise budget proposal under the circumstances. But let me make a point very clearly. On the COLA, we have a CPI index of 1.9. You have selected 2%. It's a minor deal, but this is exactly the issue I have with this. Municipal agencies shouldn't be setting numbers that aren't directly connected to a cost of consumer price index or something else. So my personal preference was it actually be 1.9, not just 2. I can't tell you how offended I am all the time when agencies just randomly select inflationary numbers that aren't connected to any hard data. It's a minor point, but I think it's important that we set that example.
Thank you, Commissioner Bagley, and thank you for that point. It's my understanding that you cannot. It's in increments of, I think, 0.5, and that's why I chose the 2% because the 1.9 was not something that I thought was feasible, but I may be wrong.
I appreciate the input on that, Sam, but you can hear my point. I see this all the time. I see agencies where they have 5, 11% increases there's no justification. There's no data that supports it. So you can hear what my point is. Thank you.
Mr. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam, I had a question about the grant and the efforts that it may take of staff's time. I know that you indicated that you're trying to clarify, just how that will be handled. But as I read through that proposal and cooperative agreement, I was a little unclear how much effort would be coming from our budget with staff time and or being reimbursed or not being reimbursed. Are you comfortable not including some of that?
Thank you thank you, Commissioner Farrell, for that question. It's interesting because we did not include this in the budget, but as you may be aware, there's approximately $65,000 funding allocated for LAFCO time for the next 2 years. So which is approximately about $30,000 in potential revenue each year. That doesn't include the time that we had allocated as our match, but there's about $30,000 in revenue for each year for the next 2 years, and that's not part of the budget. We just don't know when we get reimbursed, so there's a lot of unknowns at this time. As I said, staff will come back at a later date for this, but that's a potential revenue that's out there. It's going to be, there's going to be some time that will be allotted for this project, but we're also going to be paid for it. So, but again, we did not include it in the budget just because we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns at this time.
All right, thank you.
Other questions of staff? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this item? Click the raise hand button, or if you're on the phone, press *9. Seeing none, I'll now close the public hearing for item 12B and bring it back to the commission for further discussion and action. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the motion recommendation by the staff members.
Thank you, Commissioner Warren.
Rouse seconds.
Mr. Rao as second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Buckeye, aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes,
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Thank
the
you.
item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our discussion items. Item 13 is a follow-up on the City of Adelanto related to LAFCO 3232 and our continued monitoring for the city. Staff?
Yes, sir, that'll be me. You have me for the discussion items today. So for our new commissioner, just a quick brief here. One of the roles that LAFCO does is service reviews, where we review the municipal services of local agencies, and there are a variety of determinations that are made in these service reviews. And one of the actions that a commission can take is to continue to monitor an agency. And so the first up is the City of Adelanto. The crux of the matter was the non-completion of audits. And so there was a multi-year backlog. The city technically is all caught up now, according to general accounting guidelines. They completed their audit for the year ending 2019. So then you may say, well, agencies are now completing them for the year ending 2020, June 30, 2020. That is correct. And according to the guidelines, they would have until June 30, 2021 to complete that audit. So at this time, LAFCO staff's position is that the City of Adelanto is current, that the commission receive and file this report, and cease further updates for the city unless otherwise directed by the commission. Now, the staff report does point out that should staff or the commission feel the need to return this matter, then it would bring that to the commission for a redress down the road.
Thanks, Mike.
I do see that there are, excuse me, that concludes my presentation. And I do see that there are attendees from the City of Adelanto, a council member, as well as a finance director online. Thank you.
Are there any comments from the City of Adelanto? I see one hand, phone ending in 4562. Go ahead, you have you're unmuted.
Thank you, Chairman Commissioners. This is Ward Comers, Finance Director for the City of Adelanto. I don't have any comments today. Just wanted to let you know I'm here for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Very good. Do any of our commissioners have questions of staff or the city? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this item? Click the raise hand button or press *9 on your phone. Seeing none, do commissioners have any further comment? Is there a motion on this item?
Supervisor Baca moves approval.
We have a motion by Supervisor Baca.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second, but I also have a question of staff.
Go ahead.
So just to be clear about our role is not to micromanage what happens in these agencies when we do these municipal service reviews, but we have a responsibility of the public to make sure that the agencies are complying with best governmental practices with audits. In this case, it's been a long, tedious process. The staff recommendation is to not continue to review the City of Adelanto. My question, Sam, is when is the City of Adelanto up for review again on a municipal service review?
Sounds like Sam is on mute. I'll answer that, Commissioner Bagley. At this time, the next service review schedule will be for Park and Recreation, which will include the City of Adelanto. So right now in the second round, we're doing them countywide by service, water, fire, etc., Park and Rec. It would be the third round that it flips back to how we did it on the first round, where it's by community. So you would look at the city of Adelanto and all those agencies in that community at one time. That probably won't be for a few years, but they will be reviewed in part as part of the Park and Recreation Service Review, which is undergoing at this time with an estimated presentation of November 2021.
Mike, thanks on that. I just wanted to clarify it. When we have an agency where we are monitoring them, I think they should be moved to a higher priority when we do these municipal service reviews. But if we're going to take a look at the Park and Rec, there'll be some sort of budget review. I think that's adequate, and staff's recommendation is warranted at this time.
Very good. Any further comments on this issue? Very good. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Baca, aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. And I just want to compliment Atlanta for finally getting this matter taken care of, and we look forward to their continued financial success.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go
this
ahead.
is Commissioner Warren. I have to excuse myself. I have a call that I have to make immediately. I've just been told. So I respectfully am getting off the line for now.
Very good. Thank you.
Have a great day, Mayor.
Thank you. You all too.
Okay, on to item 14, which relates to the Commission's Fire Service Review, and it's a recommendation for continued monitoring of the Barstow Fire Protection District and the City of Barstow, which was continued from the September 2020 meeting. Staff, go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, sir. So this was an outgrowth of the service review that was conducted in February 2020, the countywide fire service review. The commission directed that continued monitoring take place for the Barstow Fire Protection District and its parent agency, the City of Barstow. That means that the Barstow Fire Protection District is a subsidiary district of the City of Barstow, where the Barstow City Council acts as the ex officio board of directors for the district. Well, a lot of change has taken place since that time, and this is outlined on the staff report. To cut to the chase, the city is asking for a continuance of 6 months. LAFCO staff is actually presenting a recommendation instead of 4 months. The turnover at everybody who's LAFCO staff interviewed as a part of the service review is no longer at the city. The fire chief is on long-term leave, and an acting fire chief is in the place. The assistant fire chief is acting in the duty as the fire chief, and the city manager and the assistant city manager, which also held the role as finance director, are no longer employed at the city. And with the interim city manager in his position now, that is a short-term position. There's a good chance that he will not be there in short time. So we are recommending a 4-month continuance rather than the 6, for the reason that this is a pressing matter from the service review, and that the financial challenges were quite high, revealed to us during our interview in December of 2020. And the concern was presented to the commission, and the commission agreed. So that's the reasoning for the continued monitoring. Should the commission wish to take the recommendation from the Fire Protection District, then we would return at the September hearing rather than the July hearing. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I do see as the attendees that the assistant fire chief and the interim city manager are on the line, should you have questions. Thank you.
Are there any comments from the district or from the City of Barstow?
Yes, we do see one, sir. One moment.
Okay, Sid Hultquist. Unmute.
Yeah, we're stuck.
There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, Assistant Chief Sid Holquist with the Barstow Fire Protection District. Appreciate the commission's looking into this matter. We would actually request a 6-month extension. If the commission so approves a 4-month extension, will work diligently to meet that as well. So we're here to cooperate, work with you, and appreciate your consideration in this matter. And I am available to answer any questions if needed.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Rao?
Thank you. So I would not be in favor of the 6-month, as we've seen at this commission level before. A lot of times 6 months is a very long time for entities in transition. And I think the sooner the better to make sure that, especially a city like Barstow that is going through so many changes, is on the right path. And I would not be in favor of the additional 2 months.
Other comments, questions of staff or the city or the district? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received.
Is there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this item? Please raise your hand or press *9 on the phone. Seeing none, bring it back to the commission for action.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment?
Yes, Dr. Cox, you certainly may.
Thank you. I know the city is in transition. I know they've really exerted some significant effort to move forward through new council members that have been seated, and the resignation of the city manager and assistant city manager. Their major Q has been a significant infusion to both the fire and the police department there. I'm confident that moving forward, that everything will be moving forward in a very positive trajectory. I wish the commission would consider the 6 months, as they're going through a process now of looking for a new city manager, but I'll yield to the desires of the commission. But being, a resident in close proximity to Victorville, or to city of Barstow, I have all the confidence that the city will be able to move forward in a positive trajectory, and I would support the 6 months.
Thank you. I personally would agree with Supervisor Rao that the 4-month extension is probably more reasonable for us. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I also believe the 4 months is a prudent recommendation. If there's some reason to extend it at that time, we could hear reason or arguments for it, but Barstow's got a lot of problems and they need to be working on them.
Right, agreed. Other comments, questions? Very good. Is there a motion on this item?
Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to move staff's recommendation. This is Supervisor Rao for July 21st meeting.
We have a
I
motion
will second that.
and a second by Bagley. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Buckeye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison,
Dennison, yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Motion passes. On to item 15, which also relates to the Commission's fire service review and its recommendation for continued monitoring for county fire. Staff will make a presentation. However, we're being asked to continue this item to the May meeting.
Yes, sir. So similar concerns with county fire and sustainability, as with the previous district. The measure to overturn the special tax of FP5 was not successful. That was the reasoning for the continuance from September to this hearing. Now, moving forward, it is the request of the county fire chief to continue this to the next hearing, which would be then in May. At this time, the county fire and the county administrative office are working on projections for county fire. They're in the process of doing it. They're just not ready for this hearing. Due to a scheduling conflict, they were not able to attend today unless a substitute has been placed in. But LAFCO staff did have a meeting with two meetings, one with the county fire chief and the other with the chief of administration, that have assured us that a proper presentation will be provided to the commission at the next hearing, to include a presentation from county fire itself. They respectfully request that we continue this to the next hearing, which would be May 19. Thank you.
Are there any comments from county fire? Anyone on the line that would represent them? Seeing none, do any commissioners have questions of staff? Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received.
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to comment on this item? If so, click the raise hand button or press *9 on the phone. Seeing none, bring it back to commission for motion.
Dennison would like to move the recommendation by staff.
We have
I
a
will
motion
second.
and a second by Commissioner Cox. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Vaca,
Buckeye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison,
Dennison, yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
The item passes. We now have before us item 16, which relates to the Commission's service review for public cemetery districts and its recommendation for continued monitoring for the Barstow Cemetery District. Mike, are you doing this too?
Yes, sir. So the cemetery service review was finalized in December of 2020, and the commission directed continued monitoring for the Barstow Cemetery, which is this hearing. And then at our May hearing, there will be an update for the 29 Palm Cemetery District. So sticking with the item today for Barstow Cemetery, we returned to the general manager, and she informed us that 2 audits are still outstanding. There was an issue with their current auditor that was told to us, and that is the auditing has been reassigned to the partner. They've also hired a new bookkeeper who will be working in conjunction with their auditor. So that's a positive step. They also informed us that recently the Barstow City Council has awarded the district funds to upgrade its restrooms to make them ADA compliant. So when we did a site visit, we did notice some deficiencies, not with ADA or anything like that, but just a lack of continued maintenance, which was confirmed by the district. But that is a positive movement. The concern, though, with staff is related to their finances, which is those audits remain outstanding. But there is a good project that I wanted to touch upon, which was outlined in the service review, which is a landscaping conversion project. So the district itself in the summertime is running up to bills of around $20,000 a month and using potable water for irrigation. And the hope is a full conversion to a xeriscape, which is the rock landscaping. 29 Palm Cemetery District is something to look at as a model for that one. And so this would save the district a lot of money. However, to do so, such a conversion costs a lot of money. So the Mojave Water Agency is undertaking a project through its grant program for the Barstow Cemetery District. So I want to underscore that word for, not by the district. Grant funding has been provided for a first round, and it is the hope to get this in the Integrated Regional Water Management Plan funding schedule so that it would be easier for it to apply for additional grants. So at this time, there is movement on conversion from grass to a xeriscape landscape, which would be a financial benefit to this struggling agency. Unfortunately, there's not much more to provide the district with this update. I would love to have come back with some financials for you. The staff report does take some data and provide a report for the commission, but at this time, it's just simply a receive and file and return to the commission at the May hearing for an update to the commission, which would be the same hearing that we're coming back with the 29 Palm Cemetery District. So you'll have a twofer on that day. That ends my presentation. I am not aware if there's a representative from the district present.
Are there any comments from the Barstow Cemetery District? Anyone on the line? Seeing none, do we have, commissioners have any questions of staff?
I have a comment. This is Supervisor Baca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that the city of Barstow has decided to upgrade and make it ADA compliant. I know that the landscaping is in pretty bad shape. Just my personal view, when someone pays, pretty good money to have their family member or loved one buried, I think that, agencies have a duty and obligation to maintain it, make it look nice so when they come and visit. So hopefully they can address the landscaping issue. I know you mentioned drought tolerant, and this was kind of personal for me because my grandparents are buried there. I got aunts and uncles, cousins that are all buried there. So it's just personal for me. But I just think the dignity to those families is very, very important for the maintenance of the cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Baca, for your comments. Appreciate it. Others?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Supervisor Rao. I just wanted to say that this poor district has really struggled, and it happens to fall within the first supervisorial district, even though it's Barstow Cemetery. And Supervisor Cook and I are working to get their entire committee staffed up. They have to interface with the Board of Supervisors for their appointees to the district, in addition to their their fund challenges like Michael had outlined, and they are working with a lot of uphill battles, but they're trying. So thank you for your patience with them.
Thank you, Supervisor Rao. Anybody else? Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted for this item?
None received.
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to comment on this item? Click the raise hand button or press *9 on your phone. Seeing none, bring it back to commission. Is this a receive and file? Or is there, we're rescheduling it. So is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the staff's recommendation and come back in May with an update.
I will second that motion and just applaud the efforts on behalf of Mojave Water Agency, the city, and Barstow Cemetery District in moving this forward.
Agreed. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Baca, aye.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Rao,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison,
Dennison, yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Item passes. Thank you. We now move on to our information items. Item 17, the legislative report. Sam?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. But struggling about this, I think next time I'll probably put this legislative update as a discussion item. There's a couple of things that we need to discuss. So if there's nothing to update, I'll probably keep it on the information items. But I think when there's something that needs to be discussed, I'll put it on the discussion. So first on the Omnibus Bill, AB 1581, this bill really just got published today. The staff report went out. 4 of the 7 items that the Legislative Committee, CalAFCO Ledge Committee, as well as the CalAFCO Board recommended, made it out of the bill. One of the 3 that was left out is out for sure. Another one, which had initially had some issues with stakeholders, CSDA, is now, I think, good to go and would be added back in as an amendment. And finally, the other one is also still being vetted by the League of Cities. So there's a possibility that this will also be added back in as an amendment. In addition, the 8 obsolete special provisions will also be added to the bill as amendments. These special provisions are specific to a particular LAFCO or a county or a city, and all 8 special provisions have concurrence from those agencies for which they apply. They are obsolete language that will be taken out. Again, the changes that are being proposed through the omnibus bill are non-substantive technical changes and corrections. These are non-controversial fixes that have buy-in from all stakeholders. Therefore, staff is recommending a support position on AB 1581. If there are amendments in the future, I will bring those back for your review and consideration for your support at a later date. But for this one, I am requesting a support position. On SB 13, this is the same bill from last year's SB 799 from Senator Dodd, related to the extension of the sunset clause to our pilot program under Government Code Section 56133.5. Although this new bill actually reestablishes the entire section, as the said section has been repealed as of January 1, 2021. So they're actually adding the whole thing back. But the changes are the same as what was previously going to be the change, which is the extension of the pilot program for another 5 years. We finally received information on the proposed changes to the bill from the city of St. Helena. What was provided, and I included it as attachment number 4, is drastically different. We are not sure at this point what they will do with this, whether this is a replacement of the original bill or whether this is being added as a separate subsection. We don't know. All we know is that there will be changes to the bill according to the senator's office. I honestly don't know what to do with this. However, given that this is an urgency bill, I also did not want the legislature to move this through without the commission's input. So at this time, I am recommending 2 options: the support position if the bill, as currently written, generally stays intact, and that the additional language from St. Helena will be added as a separate subsection that will be specific to Napa County only, or an opposed position unless amended if the additional language is replacing the current language or changes it substantially, or if San Bernardino County is entirely removed from the pilot program. So that's my recommendation for SB 13. And then finally, there's a proposal from San Diego LAFCO to sponsor an amendment for the exemption provisions of Government Code 56133, which is the subsection E. And as I indicated in the staff report, the commission does have a local policy that addresses the very issue that San Diego LAFCO is trying to fix. I've included the commission's policy for out-of-agency service contracts as attachment 6. And if you look at policy 5, this clearly outlines that the commission makes the determination that the service to be provided is exempt from LAFCO review. And in addition, the commission also has delegated that authority to the executive officer when the service provision is not development related. Apparently, San Diego LAFCO has been dealing with this. Actually, there's been a couple of, I think, court cases or lawsuits that they are dealing with for this very issue. Because this proposal is in line with the commission's policy, and that would actually provide for more cover as a statutory authority, not just a local policy, staff is recommending that the commission support San Diego LAFCO's efforts by sending a letter outlining our support for the proposed amendment. Staff is recommending that we take, or that you take the actions identified on page 1 of the staff report. that ends my ledge report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions of Sam? Page 1 outlines the recommendations. Is there a motion on the item?
Mr. Chair, I'll move staff's recommendation.
I'll second Steve Farrell.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Baca,
Abstain.
Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Aye.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Dennison,
Dennison, yes.
Commissioner Farrell.
Yes.
Motion passes. On to item 18, which is the executive officer's report. Sam?
We are almost there. I just want to remind the commission that we are not having an April meeting, and that our next scheduled meeting will be on May 19. The new 2020 Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg guide is now available. I provided the link to the guide on the staff report, which you can download. If any of you want a hard copy, please let me or any of the staff members know, and we'll mail you one. That ends my EO report.
Very good. Was there any need, Paula, to get public comment on that last item?
Might as well, just in case.
Well, there are only 2 people on attendee list. Would any of those 2 people wish to comment on the last item? Seeing none, we'll move on then to item 19, which are commissioner comments. Anyone have comments they'd like to make? Go ahead. Supervisor Rao.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe that my name was called on the roll for the last vote, and I was in the affirmative.
You're right, Commissioner Rao, I do apologize.
No problem. I just wanted to state it for the record that I was still here.
Okay.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chair, just a quick question for Sam. Where is the link for the latest CHK?
It's on the staff report for the EO report.
Yeah, okay, great. I will definitely print that. That's a great reference document that I like to keep in my office. Thank you.
Commissioner Rao, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can I get Commissioner Rao's vote for that legislative report?
It was a yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Other comments from commissioners?
I hope we can meet in person again sometime.
You and me both. I know our city council is going to meet in person the first meeting in July. I mean, April, excuse me, April, not July.
I just hit the magic number for vaccine, and I'm scheduled for mine this afternoon at Copper Mountain College. So hopefully we'll all be in a position where we can get back to meetings.
Well, I've had my second shot for about a month now, and I encourage everyone. I had no problems with the Pfizer at all. But they say people that are my age usually don't. It's the younger guys like you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Now, are there any comments from the public on subject matter that we have jurisdiction over, which were not on the agenda? Madam Clerk, were there any written comments submitted?
None received?
Are there any public on Zoom who wish to speak on this matter? And if so, press the raise hand button or punch *9 on your phone. Seeing none, I thank all of you for being here, and welcome again, Supervisor Baca. We cover a lot of different areas, and I'm sure you'll get up to speed very quickly.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you. With that, if there's no other business, we will stand adjourned, and everyone stay safe and enjoy your weekend, and get vaccinated if you can.